the first book of Samuel, session 51. We continue with chapter 23, and yesterday we ended with Jonathan coming into David's territory. Saul not knowing where David is, the enemy doesn't know where the beloved is, but the gift of Yah goes and visits the beloved and strengthens his hand. Jonathan is there to hold David's hand, just for a little while. Put your head on my shoulder and just rest, just relax, just breathe. Sometimes we need like a little oasis in the middle of the desert. How many times did God give oases to Israel in the wilderness? I think about Elim, where there was, 70 palm trees and 12 springs of fresh water. And sometimes during this journey, the struggle, springs of fresh water. And sometimes during this journey, the struggle, He gives an oasis. He sends us a gift. He gives us a resting place. We find peace that surpasses understanding, even in the eye of the storm. And then Jonathan said to David, "Do not fear, for the hand of Saul my father shall not find you. You shall be king over Israel, and I shall be next unto you. And that also my father knows." And again, I feel such sadness for Jonathan. Jonathan was supposed to be king. He is the prince. He is the son of the current king. So when the current king dies, his son becomes king in his place. But Jonathan loves Yhwh. And Jonathan knows David above the house of Saul. Jonathan knows when that is done, that is how it's going to be. There's nothing he can do to change it. And in his heart, there's no jealousy. And there's no envy. There's no hatred. Because David is basically stealing the throne from Jonathan, if you look from Jonathan's perspective. But of course, from Yhwh's perspective, Yhwh has given the throne. He's taken it away from Jonathan, from Saul and Jonathan's bloodline, and given it to David. But honestly, from a human perspective, David has stolen the throne from Jonathan. Jonathan says, "You're going to be king, not me. I know that." Because there was love. He loved David so much. He knew David was innocent. He knew all these other things. But deep in his heart, he actually had the human angry that he is no longer going to be king. And I'm sad on another level for Jonathan as well. Because in Jonathan's head, he knew when Saul dies the day that David will become king. And he, that is Jonathan, because he is David's best friend, he's like a brother to David. And they have made a covenant. Jonathan knows David is going to look after him. Jonathan knows that David will remain his friend, even if David becomes king. So Jonathan is seeing himself as standing next to David, as being David's right-hand man, as being one of David's trusted friends and counselors and brothers. And probably David is going to make Jonathan like the minister of defense, or something. Jonathan knew that David is going to be beautiful and prosperous. And you know what? Jonathan is looking forward to that. He's tired of his paranoid, schizophrenic father. And he wants to have a peaceful life with David, fighting for Israel and fearing God and worshipping him. And this is what Jonathan had in his head. And it's so sad when God's plans had to work out in such a way that both Saul and Jonathan was killed on the same day in the battlefield. And will we see Saul in the kingdom? I don't think so. Well, this is my human perspective. And just this morning, I had to repent of my sin of being too judgmental. So will we see Saul in the kingdom? I have no idea, and I'm not going to give my opinion. Will we see Jonathan I think so. And here I don't think it's my opinion. Jonathan has been a God-fearing man. And he's been a wonderful servant of Yhwh. Yhwh gave Jonathan victory when he and his armor bearer went onto the Philistines. So, I don't know. He died that day in battle, and David became king. But I don't think that Jonathan's death was a judgment and a punishment like Saul's death was. Jonathan was just in the bloodline that had to be extinguished out of Saul. But I see the seed from the tree of life in Jonathan, where I see the seed from the tree of knowledge of good and evil in Saul. So the two of them made a covenant again before Yhwh. And David stayed in the woods, and Jonathan went to his house. Then came up the Ziphites to Saul to Gibeah. And remember now, David was hiding in the wilderness of Ziph. And Ziph, you learned yesterday, means to soften, to liquefy, like gold is softened. So then came up the Ziphites, those people whose hearts were supposed to be softened, and they came to Saul to Gibeah and said, "You know what? Doesn't David hide himself with us in the strongholds in the wood, in the hill of Hachilah, which is on the south of Yeshimon? Now therefore, O king, come down according to all the desire of your soul to come down, and our part shall be to deliver him into your hands." Now, for what reason in the world will they do that? Did David do anything bad to them, that they got angry with David, and now they want David to be killed? So now they've got a reason to go to Saul and say, "You know what? David is there and there. Please go and fetch him and go and kill him." Did David do anything bad to them? Was there any reason that they became a telltale? Do you feel good about yourself? Joshua says in Matthew 24 verse 9, "Then they shall deliver you up to be afflicted, and they will kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and they shall betray one another, and they shall hate one another." What is the reason that they hated David? You know what? I don't think they hated him. I don't think David did anything to them to make them hate him. David was beautiful. The only reason these people were doing it was to gain something out of it, to gain the trust from the king. The king is unrighteous, David is righteous, but people in the end days are not going to care. They're going to, what does it make of you? Are you a man when you betray an innocent person and deliver an innocent person up to the enemy? Is that going to make of you a better human being? Like the people during the pandemic who were telltales on their neighbors who were having a braai, during the lockdowns. And they phoned the police. How many neighbors delivered their neighbors up to the police who had a braai during lockdown? And people came to visit them or something. Have you heard those stories? Why do you do that? What do you gain from it? Are you such a low human being that, what is it? Is it jealousy? I can't even understand. Does it make you feel good to be a telltale on somebody and to cause demise or damage or pain in somebody's life? Do you get some sort of perverted satisfaction out of it? What reason could there be for these guys to deliver David up to Saul? And look now, verse 21. Saul said, "Oh, bless you, my son. Blessed are you in the name of Yhwh, for you have compassion on me." And that reminds me when Joshua said, they will deliver you up and they will think that they're doing God a favor. During the lockdowns, did people think they are doing humanity a favor? by having an favor, by having an attitude in the shops when one person in 100 came into the shop who didn't wear the thing over your mouth. And then everybody shouted at him and grabbed him by the arms and threw him out of the shop. Do you think you're doing humanity a favor? Are the people in the end days going to think they're going to do God a favor if they deliver up the people that are not part of the New World Order religion? You know, what is the perverted emotion on your inside that moves you towards delivering somebody innocent up to the governments? But here, Saul says, blessed are you. So maybe they got some satisfaction out of the fact that the king is going to give them their blessing. You know, you're going to be talked about, oh, those guys are blessed by the king. Something great for the king. I don't know. Honestly, for me, it's quite scary to see how people will deliver innocent people up. Go, I pray you, prepare yet, and know and see his place where his hideout is, and who has seen him there. For it is told to me that he deals very subtly. Of course, yesterday we looked at how David went into the secret place of Yhwh. So here it is seen as being deceiving. You know, if we are like in the Black Plague in the 1800s, the Jews didn't get so sick and they didn't die in their millions like the British people and people in England and Europe did when they were eating rats and they were living not according to the Torah to cleanse themselves, and there was a whole reason behind the Black Plague. But the people that kept the Torah, that had the hygiene, and didn't eat the unclean animals, they didn't get the Black Plague. And they were actually seen as the enemy of the people. And it was as if they were doing witchcraft. It wasn't witchcraft. It was them understanding the secrets in Yahweh's Torah. So when we come into the secret place, like Israel was protected in a secret place. They were keeping the law of God. They were listening to Moses in Egypt, and the plagues were falling on the Egyptians and not on the Israelites. So from the Egyptians' perspective, those people has a secret. They have a something that is secretly or deceivingly protecting them. From our perspective, it is our God, because we have come into his tabernacle, into his protection. And that is his secret place, yes. But to the world, that secret place looks like it is something strange and something that is not right. So Saul says very prophetically, he is dealing deceivingly. David is dealing deceivingly. But from David's perspective, he just came into the secret protection of Yahweh because he follows them. So Saul is telling the Ziphites, go and do a little spy work for me, and you'll have to do a good job of it, because it's going to be difficult to spy on somebody who lives such a secret life, basically. See therefore and take knowledge of all the lurking places where he hides himself. So I like the choice of words of Saul. He's sending the Ziphites back and say, go back and try to find a king. Now, we have the Bible verses that talks about lurking, and that's never in a good sense. From Saul's perspective, what he is telling the world out there, what kind of man David is David is very subtle. He's a hypocrite. He deals very secretively and is lurking around in dark, hiding places. Like, like a criminal. Criminals are lurking in dark spaces and are secretly hiding behind dark corners because they've got an evil agenda. So David is portrayed to the world as an enemy of the people, as a secretive, sly, criminal kind of human being. And that is prophetic for the end days as well. And that is prophetic for the end days as well. The Bible explains lurking not in a very positive light. Psalm 10 verse 8. The bad people sits in lurking places of the villages. In secret places do they commit murder against the innocent. And they set their eyes evilly against the poor. Psalm 17:12. Like as a lion that is greedy for his prey, as a young lion that is lurking in secret places. Proverbs 7:12, talking about, the bad woman that is representing the false religions. She's in the streets, then she's in the squares. She's lurking at every corner, just waiting for her next victim. So when you look at lurking, so many times lurking is used as the secret place. And to the world, because the world is on the broad road, to the world, it looks like the people of God that can survive even persecution and not give up their faith and not go into the dark kingdom because they want to have the blessing of the king of the world, and they are protected. Although they die, they still, although their life might be in danger, they still have this faith and this conviction and this peace and this love for God, because they have experienced God in the secret places. But to the world, it looks like criminals, terrorists that are lurking in secret places. Why aren't they affected by all the affected signs and stuff we see now? Yesterday my son went on a hunting trip and he came back and he didn't feel good. And, we thought, no, he'll feel better in a couple of days. And thank Father that my other son said maybe he has tick fever because he's been in the bushes. And then we looked over his body, we found 2 tick bites, and we went to the hospital to have him treated. And then we came there and you had to have made an appointment and all the blah blah stories. So we just Googled a blood testing place. And we came to the blood testing place and there were so many cars there. And it was just so busy and we didn't have all the time. So my son said, oh, there's another blood testing place just there down the road. And they are not so busy. So everything happened for my son to then come to this woman at this blood testing place that is not a clinic or part of the hospital. But she's actually one of those people who didn't get thrown with a spear. I hope you remember one of the previous studies we did, and we looked at the sharp object in the hand of Saul, the king of this world, with which he wants to kill the beloved David. That sharp object that they've been pushing into people's arms. She's also one of them that hasn't been pushed like that. And when she tested my son's blood, she told my husband, oh, your son hasn't been stung with a spear, has he? Because I can see in his blood that he is not affected by that stuff that was at the edge of the spear. Isn't that amazing? She then actually went forward and she showed my husband and my son the spears. It is astonishing. I've seen videos of this for the last 2 years, for the last 3 years. You have also. But to sit in a doctor's office who agrees with us, who are called conspiracy theorists, who are called criminals and terrorists in this world because we objected against what the whole World Health Organization and the world governments told us we have to do. And that was just quite amazing. But what I want to come to, there's evidence that gives us the right to stand up and not be part of this world order. But to the world, we are portrayed as if we are rebellious. And there will come a time when anybody who is rebellious against the government of the world will be classified as terrorist. If you stand up against the government, you are committing treason, and you can go to jail. Years before, you could have been executed for treason. But treason against a satanic government, is the way in which we will keep ourselves pure and holy up to the point when Yeshua comes again. But from the world's perspective, looking at us, they don't see holiness and set apartness and loyalty to God. They see terrorism. So David is portrayed as a lurking terrorist, a criminal, through the eyes of the government of that stage, convincing the people of the world, of the people of the nation, that they need to turn against that terrorist. And this is the message I get from the battle between Saul and David, which is an amazing end-time prophecy for the battle of the saints of God on the narrow road compared to the rest of the world. And even more deeply, of this amazing battle between Lucifer and Yeshua. Wasn't Yeshua portrayed as a criminal? Wasn't Yeshua portrayed as one who is dealing in witchcraft? He's driving out demons with the power of Beelzebub. You've read this in the New Testament. Kill him, he's a terrorist. He's against the church, the synagogue, and he's against the government. Oh, Pontius Pilate, and oh, King Herod, he's against you. He's not only against us, religion, but he's against you, the government, as well. He's not only against us, religion, but he's against you, the government, as well. So kill him, he's a terrorist. He's got secret devices. He's lurking around the corners, trying to steal your throne and trying to steal the throne of us, the Pharisees. And it's a very deceptive, big agenda, very cleverly devised plan that Satan has to make the world view God's beloved as criminals lurking. See therefore and take knowledge of all the lurking places where David is hiding himself. So these two parts of the coin we really have to understand, or as the New Age Kabbalah teaches, as above, so below. But also Yeshua, in the truth, in the light, he teaches, may your will be done as in heaven, so on earth, as in heaven, so on earth. So we've got these two sides. We've got the tree of life and the tree of good and evil. So we've got the lurking places, the secret places of God's people, but the perspective from the world is that this is bad. So keep this in mind now as we continue. So Saul says, verse 23, and come again to me with certainty. So go and do your spying work, and then you can come back to me with information and intelligence that is certain. Go and make sure exactly where he is. And I will then go with you. And it shall come to pass, if he is in the land, that I can then search him out throughout all the thousands of Judah. So if you can go and do a decent job of your spying work, then at least I can find him. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack. It's like looking for David among all the thousands of Judah. If you help me, if you pray, David, then I'm going to find him. And they arose, the Ziphites, and they went to Ziph before Saul. But David and his men were in the wilderness of Maon, in the plain on the south of Jeshimon. So while the enemy is making plans and sending out the CIA and the FBI and Mossad, the secret agency of Israel, while the kings of the earth are sending out their drones and their hybrid artificial intelligence devices to go and search out the lurking places and the hiding places of the end time saints against whom the dragon fights and wants to kill and persecute. While that is happening, David went to the wilderness of Maon, in the place on the south of Yeshimon. And the Bible really comes to my justification in telling you that hiding in a place where God can form you like clay and soften you in the wilderness of Ziph, and you're willing to burn on the altar and go through the refiner's fire, that will bring you into the habitation. It will bring you to the inside of the tabernacle. And when I said these things, I didn't lie to you, because look how the Bible justifies this. Maon, he went to the wilderness of Maon. Maon in the Hebrew, and you can do your own research, H4584. It means a residence. The root word is H4583, Mayin. And what does Mayin mean? I'm going to read to you. It says, Mayin, an abode, like abiding, the abiding of God with men, the tabernacle or the temple, the home of men, the lair or the layer of animals, where an animal lays down, a retreat. You go to a retreat to go and rest, to go and revitalize, to go on vacation. An asylum. People that have mental issues go to asylums where they are treated. A den, a den where the bear takes her cubs to go and sleep at night. A den for the animals. A dwelling place, habitation. So he goes into the dwelling place, and it is connected with a tabernacle. It's not me saying this. It is the root meaning in the Hebrew that says Mayin has to do with the tabernacle or the temple of God, the dwelling place of God with people, the dwelling place of animals, the safe place, the retreat of human beings. And we cannot do anything else but be reminded of Psalm 91. Those who love me, you know what? Let me rather just read it. He that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say, Yahuwah is my refuge, my fortress, my God in whom I will trust. Surely he shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler and the noisome pestilence. He will cover you. And cover is shakak. He will entwine you. He will fence you in with his feathers. And that's why the tabernacle is like the mother hen that puts her chicks under her wings. Under his wings you will trust, and he will be your shield and your buckler. You will not be afraid. The pestilence will not come to you. 1,000 will fall on your side, but it will not come to you. With your eyes you will behold the reward of the wicked, because you have made Yahuwah your Maon. Flippin', look at this, people. Psalm 91 verse 9. Because you have made Yahuwah, who is your refuge, even the Most High Yahuwah, you have made him your habitation, your Maon. So David were dwelling in the wilderness of Maon, while the evil is following and persecuting him, and he is being delivered out by the people of Ziph. Verse 10 of Psalm 91. There in all you, neither shall any plague come near your dwelling. You know what? How more direct can the word be than to teach us, even in the difficult end-day journey that we are facing, that when we abide under his wings in his tabernacle and have come out of Egypt and Babylon and are willing to follow Moses and Joshua and serve and worship God in the tabernacle, that we will be protected by his wings. Back to 1 Samuel 23 verse 24. So he dwelt in the wilderness of Maon. He went there to Maon, and that is in the south of Yeshimon. And Yeshimon has the meaning of desolation, emptiness, barrenness. It's alone, because the narrow road is a lonely road. And although you are lonely, although it is only you that is serving Yahuwah, and you feel like you're the only person left in the world that is loyal to Yahuwah, stay in his dwelling place, although that is in the plain of Yeshimon. Stay in his abiding, in his mayon, although that is in Yeshimon. Although you feel desolate, although the desert is huge and open and empty and barren, you stay in the secret place of Yahuwah. This is beautiful, because Saul and his men went on chasing every lead. Every time somebody, an FBI agent came from this side and a CIA agent from that side, and a secret drone came from this side, and all this intelligence came in, Saul could just not ever find David. Sometimes he found him. He didn't even know it. And David was the one that actually then found Saul, And at night he was able to tear a part of Saul's cloth from his mantle. And the next day he will tell Saul, see, I could have killed you last night. You were right next to me. You didn't even see me, because God was hiding me in his secret place from the eyes of the evil. So the enemy, the kings of the earth, with all their FBI agents, are looking for David, going from one town to the next, but always just one step behind. Because to remain in the secret place of Yahuwah means to remain in his will. And that's why the tabernacle journey is important, because we have to know his will. And you only get to know his will when you are in his secret place, when you are in covenant with him, when you obey him and you love him, and you get to know him there. So David's journey, remember, he was in Keilah. In Keilah, stronghold, like an enclosure. You know, it's almost like, it's like a fortress. David was supposed to have safety there because he helped the people of Keilah, remember? But they delivered him up. So from Keilah, he went to Ziph, where he went through the refiner's fire of being softened, Ziph. And then from there he went to Maon, the dwelling place in Yeshimon, desolation. From fortress where you are betrayed, beloved of God, going through the refiner's fire and being softened, and then following the journey into the secret place of God, although you are alone. Look at the prophetic toepassing, application for every one of us in our journey, from the life of David and from every place where he went, what God is teaching us, how we must walk out our